मनोसी प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठिता
ॐ वाग्मे मनोसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविर्याविहि मेधि
वेदस्य मानिसः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहसिता
वेदसामानिस्तव श्रुतं मे मा प्रहसिता
अनेन दितेन अहोरात्रं संददामि
अनेन दितेन अहोरात्रं संदधामि
ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
तद्मामवतु तद्भक्तामवतु
तन्मामवतु तद्भक्तानामवतु
अवतु माम् अवतु भक्ताराम् अवतु भक्ताराम्
अवतु माम् अवतु भक्ताराम् अवतु भक्ताराम्
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ आपयन्तु मम अङ्गानि वाक्प्राणचक्षुः
ॐ आप्यायन्तु मम अङ्गानि वाक्प्राणचक्षुः
श्रोत्रमात्रबलम् इन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि
श्रोत्रमाथः बलम् इन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि
सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदाम्
सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदम्
मां ब्रह्म निराकुर्यात् मां ब्रह्म निराकरोत्
निराकुर्यात्
निराकरणमस्तु
अनिराकरणमेऽस्तु
नमस्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु
धर्मस्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ पूर्णमादाः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते
ॐ पूर्णमादाः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ सवनो भवतु सवनो भुनक्तु
ॐ सहनो भवतु सहनो भुनक्तु
सर्ववीर्यं कर्वावहै
सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै
तेजस्विनो अधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शं नो मित्रः
शं नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शं नो भवति यमः
शं न इन्द्रः बृहस्पतिः शं न विष्णुरुक्रमः
शं नो इन्द्रः बृहस्पतिः शं नो विष्णुरुक्रमः
नमः ब्रह्मणे नमः देवाय
नमो ब्रह्मणे नमो देवाय
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मोऽसि
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि
गीतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
रीतं वदिष्यामि सतं वदिष्यामि
तद्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु
तद्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु
भवतु माम् आवतु वक्तारम्
आवतु माम् आवतु वक्तारम्
शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृण्वामदेवा
ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृण्वामदेवा
भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः
भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः
स्थिरैरङ्गैः तुष्टुवांशतनूभिः
स्थिरयाङ्गुष्टुवांसतनुभिः
पश्येमदेवहितं यथायुः
पश्येमो देवहितं यदायुः
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
Well, after a gap of 3 weeks, we had assembled here to discuss the continued subject of realization of the Supreme Brahman. It is actually the 684th session. However, we have missed 3 sessions in between because of certain medical issues. And today's session will be on profuse stream of waves of divine thoughts. Invite profuse stream of waves of divine thoughts. Divine thoughts we need to invite in our life. Why it is necessary for these divine thoughts? Necessity for these divine thoughts is because we have to proceed and take our life along the chosen path, the chosen way. Those who are gathered here, they have chosen God as the destination in life. The life is around the concept of God, and the purpose of journey in life is to reach out to the realm of God. If that is so, then we need to follow certain methods, certain procedures, and we need to undertake certain steps in our life to fulfill our goal in life. Now the first thing has to be ascertained whether we have certainly the goal of reaching divine reality. If we want the goal to be fulfilled, then the goal has to be understood first. The goal has to be defined first. In our journey in life, we have varied aspects of taking pleasure from, taking happiness from. We are happy when we achieve things in our life. We win something. We have a feeling of lost dimension when we lose out in our life. We are happy when we get the desired things in life. We feel deprived when we don't get the desired things, or we are stopped from achieving the desired goal. These are certain things which are known as and called as practical aspects of life. Today we are going to discuss certain things which are more practical than these aspects which are called as practical aspects of life. The aspects that we have mentioned just now, winning, becoming successful in life, and fulfilling the desires of life. These are external to our core being. There was an endeavor by Shankaracharya to understand the real identity, and he finally discovered Aham Nirvikalpa Nirakaro. He discovered that he is a non-form form, and he discovered that he doesn't have multiple options in life. He has got only one option. He discovered that he is one with the Supreme Self, and not only that, he is one with the Supreme Self, but actually he represents the Supreme Self. Now this discovery was possible when Shankaracharya had initiated the journey within. The sages in India during our ancient Vedic period, they have all explored and undertaken the journey within. Now what is that? We need to have our work for the life, work for the world. When we are involved in the work for the world, we tend to forget the existence of other world anywhere, possibly within ourselves. The existence of other world does not remain in our consciousness at the time of our doing the work for the world. Why do we do the work for the world? We do the work for the world because of our habit to do, because of our requirements to sustain life and grow in life, and most of the cases because of our desires, ambitions, and prospectful intention to make our life grow vertically or horizontally or spherically, even in an empirical context. Therefore, human being is destined to do the world of the work. Work we have to do. But when we do the work, what is that we actually do? We do the work for ourselves, for our benefit, for our gains. There are certain types of activities which are known as gainful activities. Gainful activities are those the sociologists have identified three different varieties of social activities or worldly activities. One they have identified as a gainful activity. Certainly so, gainful activities are the most profound, or almost all, covering almost all aspects of life and almost everybody in the world. What is a gainful activity? The gainful activity is one which brings in certain gain, either gain in terms of financials, money, or gain in terms of positions, fame, or gain in terms of intangibles, invisibles. Some kind of gain is expected out of the work. And work is destined to provide those, because every beat of action has got its own reciprocative reaction. So the work delivers, the result of the work the resultant effect of the work. And the gainful activity has to provide a gain to the person having undertaken that action. So the result of the work comes back on the person, helps the person to grow materially in the world's context, and allows the person to think even bigger than the present context, present situation. And there are a lot of other thoughts about it. One can get inspired, get motivated enough to do more work, multiply the capacity, and create a position to deliver higher, more intense work, maybe with a view to achieve more intense or higher degree of resultant effects therefrom. Shankaracharya, when he had explored within, he found that the reality is actually different. We consider reality on the basis of the visible, tangible dimensions. If we get inside our human organism, we'll find there are certain things which actually make us move forward. But again, they are connected with our material content in the life. Starting from the end of it, the coccyx of the notochord, vertebral column, if you go along the vertebral column, upwards, up to the skull and the top of it, there is a connecting organ within. Inside, we have a main transmitting body, which is known as Sushumna, S-U-S-H-U-M-N-A. It has got a spiral connection with two different streams of connecting organs, which are lesser in size but intense in their activities, Ida and Pingala, left and right. They have a crossovers in three different points, and that flow of the consciousness through the vertebral column. Sushumna covers 6 different plexus and continues up to the cervical and goes beyond. It goes up to the top of the head. It starts from a place which is near the coccyx called Muladhara. Muladhara is a storehouse of the entire energy. What is the nature? Is the physical energy, is the mental energy, is the psychological, psychophysical energy, psychosomatic energy, and certain things which are beyond our perceptive capacity, which we can't describe. It is a storehouse of everything. It contains the white, it contains the dark. The metaphor given is, it contains the serpent, the venomous serpent, which can bite you down to death. It contains the nectar, which can revive you to immortality. It contains both. It's got the serpent within, which is more visible, and it's got the nectar also inside, which is not visible, but can get stimulated whenever it's happening or whenever the case occurs. Muladhara gets stimulated by virtue of certain impacts. Our sages during the ancient period have advocated for a breathing technique and exercise. They have said in the modern period there are a lot of monks and various kinds of people who are advocating yoga in the world. Yoga for physical health, mental health, that's good. But that doesn't go beyond. It's not just merely yoga, it's something beyond. When we inhale air through the left nostril, goes inside, you've got three segments. The segment one is the upper segment, the wisdom segment, which is above our throat region, up. There's another segment which is from the navel below. There is a third segment in between, which is the trunk of the system, the main body of the system. When we inhale here through one of the nostrils. The nostrils are crossover connected to the lobes of the brain. Left is connected to the right lobe, right is connected to the left lobe. The moment the inhalation takes place through left, it reaches out to the right, stimulates the mind and the context of the mind, the thinking faculty, a perceptive faculty, the faculty to realize, understand. That is why it is always advocated that when you begin the introspection or your meditation through alternate nostril breathing, hold the right first, inhale through the left first. Because it stimulates the one which is required to be stimulated first, the organ which is more important than the other side. Now it flows down. It flows down, as I've said, through left nostril. If we have inhale, then it goes up to the right lobe of the brain, and then again it's connected with Ida. Ida comes back down to the Muladhara. It is there to stimulate the Muladhara. Now the Muladhara is stimulated. The moment it's stimulated, since it's coming from the right via the Ida, it's actually stimulating those factors, those attributes which are connected with the nectar. It's not stimulating the serpent. If it were the opposite, it would have come via the Pingala, from the left down to the, again down to the Muladhara, and would have stimulated the serpent first. Either ways, you have to manage both. Now it gets stimulated. When it's first nectar, then serpent, or first serpent, then nectar. In both the cases, it moves up. And the forces with which it moves up, it depends on the intent of the person, the quality of the person. Lord Krishna has identified 26 different attributes, 26 qualities of the human personality, which would transform a man to a divine entity. Where is the difference between a man and a divine entity? The difference lies only in the qualities, attributes. If the human person undertakes those attributes, it grows into a divine personality. What are the highlighting aspects of that? That Krishna has identified one most important attribute called Arjava, simplicity. Arjava he has identified as a core factor of the personality. What is the meaning of that? It means simple in mind, simple in heart, simple in your expectation, simple in your approach to life. Simplicity. What is the meaning of simplicity? You identify or try to identify things straight on the face of it. There could be certain hidden agenda in the work diagram in the world. There are. But you try to get it from a simple point of view. If you find you are deprived, you are denied, you are cheated, you are harmed by others, you will find ways and means to get this corrected in the context itself. Arjuna is something which creates the background, which creates a pathway for the smooth flow of energy within. How does it happen? Panchavayu, Pranavayu. When it goes to the upper dimension, it's the Pranavayu which comes and it maintains. When it goes to below navel, it's the Apanavayu which tries to connect with that. And in between the trunk, it's the Samanavayu. which tries to connect with all the major organs of our human system and stimulates and gets them in order to enable you to think of some good things, the goodness, the noble things, the noble dimensions of life. Now there are two other types of air, Vayu, Vyana Vayu and Urana Vayu. Vyana Vayu is something which is connecting with all different functions from the fingers of your feet up to the top of it, everywhere. And Urana Vayu is providing the energy, infusing and containing the energy and distributing the energy to different organs, particularly the exterior limbs. Now in this diagram, in this entire process, which the sages have visualized, what the sages attempted to do? The sages attempted to help the person to come, to connect first of all the material with spiritual, and then to come out of the boundaries of the material and get in touch with the spiritual in a continued manner. So the moment we understand that there is a dimension where we can have a connection between the material and the spiritual, what do? We have a intent. We may develop an intent to get in touch with the spiritual, provided we have an inclination towards God, the path is of God. Now then, the moment we have an inclination towards spiritual, what do? We cultivate that in our consciousness. And that consciousness revitalizes all the organs. That is the reason why Sri Aurobindo had talked about cellular minds. What is this concept? The cellular mind. This is actually drawn from this concept of consciousness and flow diagram of consciousness, including Panchavayu and Panchakosha in our human system. Now what does it have? What does it do? The cells. There are millions of cells in our body, starting from cells of hairs on head up to the cells of the nail end of our leg. Now all the cells, different types of cells, long and short, small and big, medium, of any kind, hard and soft, semi-soft, of various types, fluid and solid, various types of cells are there. Now each cell has its own priority and objective to perform. Now each cell is an independent entity. Darwin had talked about evolution starting from amoeba, protozoa, porifera, cell interrata, like this. The unicellular cell, amoeba, has a potency to survive on its own. It can survive. A single cell can survive. So single cell is a single entity. We have millions of cells in our body. And all single elements of these millions of cells are capable enough to survive on their own. So if we have to have a chanting of God, how do you do? The chanting of God we can do with the words, but that should not get limited over there. Chanting of God, when we are taking the name of God, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. When you are chanting, when you are taking the name of the God, then what are we doing? We are actually trying to bring in His image inside. By taking His name, by taking the holy name, we are actually inviting His Spirit within. When we are taking the holy name of God, we are actually inviting the Divine Spirit within ourselves. The Divine Spirit comes within ourselves, makes us in touch with the Divinity. When we are saying Hare Krishna, then we are now in touch with the Divine. We are in touch with Divine. Like Sri Ramakrishna, all the time he was chanting the name of, he was uttering, chanting and meditating upon Mother, the Goddess, the Supreme Goddess, Supreme Mother, Kali. And at the same time, he was there in the temple of Radha Govinda, Radha Krishna. And also he always used to offer his pranam, his respect to Lord Shiva. This was a trio which he used to have in his always when he used to stay there in Dakshineshwar, these trial were there. Focus central, Kali. He has a Radha Krishna. He has a Lord Shiva. Now, all three together at the same time. Now, his followers have cut this apart. His followers has deleted all this. Like in our modern system, in computers, you can delete many things easily. They have deleted. What have they deleted? They have deleted Kali from their own monastery. They have deleted Radha Krishna from their own monastery. They have deleted Lord Shiva from their own monastery. Except for remembering on occasion days, they didn't do anything. But Ramakrishna was primarily with all these three forms of God. And from there, he has taken a spirit of the impersonal God, Vedanta. Advaita Vedanta was drawn from there. And what was the form? He used to worship Kali as Kali in the form of a goddess mother, and at the same time Kali as a Advaita Vedanta, as a Advaita Supreme One. So she is there in the form, and at the same time she is the non-form. Krishna Radha is there, they are in the form in Jugal, in togetherness, but they are non-form. So Advaita is drawn from their Dvaita, their forms. Lord Shiva is there, and he is impersonal personality, impersonal being, supreme oneness with all this. This was. Had it been different? Say for example 1897 when Vivekananda had formed the institution, the organization called RPM, Ramakrishna Mission. 1909 it got the legal status. But then again the formation is 1897. Had it been like this, that Kali is there as a central in their temple, Krishna Radha is there on one side of the temple, Shiva is there on the other side of the temple, this is the main focus. Ramakrishna, Sharada and Vivekananda is the next to them. If it were like this, it would have been really ideal. But it's not done. They have not done this, it's their myopic vision. It's their shortness, it's their scarcity of having seen or being able to see the things. Vivekananda had mentioned that why. Advaita he had advocated why. Because at that time the spirit of the Jesus was there. He had to fight with the spirit of Jesus on one hand and the spirit of Buddha on the other hand in the international forum. So his objective was to fight in the international forum and project in that way. That is the reason why he had played that, Advaita Vedanta so profusely. Now what happens is, when let's say, now imagine a situation, the temple is there, Kali, the temple room of Ma Kali, the goddess mother Kali is there, Ramakrishna is coming out of that. Visualize that. He is coming out of that. Now what is he perceiving? He is perceiving that Kali, this Supreme Mother, just now he had an interaction with Kali, he is vibrant, she is vibrant, she is alive, she is lively, she is present, she is omnipresent. Then next, what is she? What is the form of her? She is omniscient. She is eternal. She is non-form. She is beyond all forms. She is beyond all colors. She is beyond all identities. She is no color. She is dark. She is light. She is bright. She is all colors. She is here. She is there. She is everywhere. This consciousness is the fundamental consciousness. Therefrom, Advaita is drawn. The Supreme Oneness is drawn. Our sages have talked about the Supreme Oneness. When we realize that, we realize when we are merged into it. We started with the concept of work. We are into the work. Let's say somebody is into some cleaning work of a drainage system. Let's say we are cleaning the drains, we are cleaning the roads of societies. It's a great work. They are maintaining the society. They are maintaining the cleanliness of the society. Now this same person could be placed in the path of God, could be a divine personality, could be in his or her consciousness, placed in the spirit of the divinity. And how is it possible? Practitioner said, Arjava is mentioned. Svatta Sangshuddhi, meaning always trying to correct yourself on the truthful basis. So this moment you are truthful, you are based on truth, doesn't mean the next moment you shall remember. So what do you have to do? He starts with saying Abhaya Sattva Sangshuddhi. Now Abhaya, don't be afraid of. Afraid of what? The world. The world around. Why? Because I always think that God is with you. Always consider that God is with you. So this is the basic point, fundamental point of being in the path of God. In a scientific paradigm, what do? We assume things. We create a hypothesis and try to test the hypothesis for its affirmation or negation. Now the hypothesis is based on our perception, our imagination, our ideas. In our life, let's have a hypothesis. What is the hypothesis? Let the hypothesis be that God is omnipresent. He is present everywhere. So why is it that He is not going to present in me? It can't happen. When Ramakrishna is coming out from the Devi Kali's, Supreme Mother Kali's temple, he is visiting to his right when he is coming out, he is visiting the temple of Krishna and Radha, he is having his intense reading interactions with them, coming out, he is visiting the temple of Lord Shiva, having intense interactions with him. Now in this context, easy contacting, easy interacting with, easy living along amidst with three different gods is not. Though he is visiting three different forms of God, three different revelations of God, is actually with the one and same God, one and same Supreme. That is the essence of conscious thinking, conscious ideas. Now if we draw that idea with it, now that we have heard that God is omnipresent, omniscient, what we can do is, we can assume that since He is present everywhere, and me being an element in this world, it cannot happen that He is not present in me. So the hypothesis is, He cannot reside except me. He is residing everywhere. But how come that He is not residing in me? It can't happen. So I am assuming, you assume, that He is residing in me, in you, in all of us. So this is the assumption. Now with this assumption, what are we trying to do? Now you have to make that conform. Like scientific principles, hypothesis is done, you affirm that, you prove that. How to prove? The first basic point, as you said, Arjava, it becomes simple. Approach is simple. Never, never, never discredit any other person. You try to take the persons on earth from the very, very simple perspective. Don't try to understand the perspectives behind. Don't try to run around the shadows or the dark patches. See the front, see the straight, consider the straight paths of the life. Arjava. And the person would be what? Avaya Sattva Sangshuddhi. Jnana Yoga Vyavasthita. No fear, don't be afraid. God is with you. Why? Because He cannot leave you. He is by definition present everywhere, so He is present in me. Now I have to discover the fact that he is present in me. The person who can discover is a realized person. The person who ignores, fair enough, let him or her be. The person who discredits, very good, let him or her be. The person who thinks that I have to consider him present has to take the trouble or initiative to discover it. And how? The point is how. How to discover? I mentioned a process which actually creates a attentiveness inside, which creates a concentration of mind inside, which connects us with the consciousness within. And the moment it's connected with the consciousness within, then what happens is we get stimulated. The entire physical, physiopsychological system, psychosomatic system, it rejuvenates, it revives its own energy. As Sri Aurobindo has put it very correctly, that all the cells have to be stimulated. How do you do? Now, as I mentioned, Panchavayu, Pranavayu operating from the throat upwards, Apanavayu from the navel downwards, Samanavayu, the in between the trunk, entire body, the digestive system, the cardiothoracic system, all those biological systems. Pranavayu, the hands, legs, they are connected with. Pranavayu, the energy is infused in. Everything is there in this. Now what do we have to do? We have to find the governing source within. Like when we are doing the work, how can we make the work most beautiful? The work could be perfection within. Now when we are doing the work, if you always think of success, I'm doing this because I will get some money, I'm doing this because I'll get some flatter, I'm doing this because I'll get some names, some good names, some recognition, some reward, some returns. No, not that. Why I'm doing this? This is the work destined to me. I'm cleansing the twins. This is the work destined to me. And how do I have to do? The best possible way, called perfection. So when I have undertaken work, the rule of work, the idea of doing the work is to take the work to a perfection. When we take the work to perfection, then we are actually worshipping God in real perspective. The divinity within gets stimulated. We get to know, we get to understand, realize the context of divinity within. We understand that we are no less, we are not separated from. We are never detached from. We are never detached from the divine, supreme divine. We are never detached from this goddess Kali. We are never detached from Krishna and Radha. We are never detached from Lord Shiva. As Sri Ramakrishna was coming out of the Kali temple, visited the Krishna Radha temple, visited the Shiva temple, came back to his room, seated on the cot, and he is now immersed in deep meditation. He is now within himself. He is deeply immersed within himself. Now he is deeply immersed within the dimension, within that aspect, that world which is not visible from outside by our external eyes, which we have to understand and realize. That is the perspective of creating a divine personality. How do we do that? We have to take the mind inward, concentrate. We have to find out God within. First you start with the wind imagination that Lord resides within. There are various places. Some people have advocated that yes, you try to identify him within the cardiac center. Some people have said that yes, you try to identify him at the place of third eye, in the forehead. Some have advocated that you try to identify him like a sky on the top of your head. Any of these ways you can proceed. And the objective is what? The omnipresent has to be present in me. The omnipresent has to reveal his identity in me. if the omnipresent is present everywhere and in me as well, then the omnipresent has to reveal his identity with it. Why? Because I am after him, I'm actually trying to identify him. I want to understand him, I want to realize him. When I want to realize him, why doesn't he respond to that? He has to respond to that. So what do? I consecrate. As Sharila has said, the symphony. When all the cells in your entire organism in one symphony aspires the divine unfolds. All the cells, all the cellular minds are now, imagine that all the cellular minds are now connected with each other. All are together aspiring to see the divine within, together chanting the name of divine within, together trying to aspire and trying to continue the aspiration, and then the unfoldment of the 1,000-petal lotus occurs when he appears as visible form, or maybe invisible form, maybe in some form of light, maybe in some form of words. When the first vision of Om was there, Om iti Brahma, Om iti Brahma, it was discovered by sage. Vaishnapan says, you concentrate on one single alphabet, it's a combination of 2-3 things. Om, that word, that alphabet, that symbol. It is a symbol, it is a word, it is an alphabet. It is the core of all verbal things. It is the basis of all things. Om, when we are visualizing that, we are actually visualizing all forms of God. Like Sri Ramakrishna, when he is before the Supreme Mother Kali, he is seeing Supreme Mother Kali and he is seeing the entire universe. The entire universe, the entire cosmos is revealed through her. When he is again before Krishna and Radha, he is seeing the entire universe. Again the same thing before Lord Shiva. Where is the difference in the forms? There is no difference in the forms. We want to visualize him, it's possible to visualize him. If we want to visualize him, we have to make ourselves pure. As Lord Krishna has advised Arjuna about 26 Daivī divine qualities, of which he has given highest trace on these 3 things, primarily on Arjava, simplicity, be pure and simple in your heart and mind. And with a simple view and a simple perceptive capacity, imagine God is present with you. Assume God is present with you. God reveals himself. When we have that kind of consecration, all cellular minds together and chanting together, we reveal ourselves to God. We surrender ourselves to God. We consecrate ourselves to God in totality without keeping any reservation for anything. We visualize him. He appears to us. And then the life becomes a renewed life, a re-engineered life. That life is a divine life. Let that life, that revived life, that re-engineered life, let that flourish among the aspirants in the world. Pratishtita Manomi Bachi Pratishtita
भाग्मे मनोसि प्रतिष्ठितं मनो मे भासि प्रतिष्ठितम्
आविः मेधि
मेधि
वेदस्य मानिस्तः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहसिः
वेदस्वमानिस्तः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहसिः
अनेनोदितेन अहोरात्रां सन्ददामि
अनेनाधिरेण अहोरात्रां संदधामि
प्रीतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
प्रीतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
धर्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु
धर्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु
अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम्
अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम्
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ आपयन्तु मम अङ्गानि वाक्प्राणः चक्षुः
ॐ आपयन्तु मम अङ्गानि वाक्प्राणचक्षुः
श्रोत्रमातः बलम् इन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि
श्रोत्रमातः बलम् इन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि
सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदाम्
सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम्
माहं ब्रह्म निरकुर्यात् मा ब्रह्म निरकरोत्
माहं ब्रह्मो निरकुर्यात् मां ब्रह्मो निरकरोत्
निराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणमस्तु
अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणमस्तु
नमस्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु
नमस्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ पूर्णमादः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते
ॐ पूर्णमादाः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ सहनो अवतु सहनो भुनक्तु
ॐ सहनौ भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु
सवीर्यं कर्वावहै
सवीर्यं कर्वावहै
तेजस्विनो अधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
तेजस्विनौ अधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शं नो मित्रः शं गुरुणः शं भगवति हरिओमः
ॐ शं नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शं नो भगवति हरिओमः
बृहस्पतिः शं नो विष्णुरुक्रमः
शं नो इन्द्रः बृहस्पतिः शं नो विष्णुरुक्रमः
नमो ब्रह्मणे नमः देवायु
नमो ब्रह्मणे नमो देवाय
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म भविष्यामि
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि
गीतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
वेदं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
तद्मामवतु तद्वक्तारामवतु
तदमामवतु तदवक्तारमवतु
अवतु माम् अवतु वक्ताराम्
अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम्
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ भद्रं कर्णिभिः शृण्वां देवा
ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृण्वां देवा
भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः
भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः
स्थिरैरङ्गैः सुवांशतनुभिः
स्थिरयाङ्गैस्तुष्टुवां सतनुभिः
पश्येमदेवहितं यतायुः
पश्येम देवहितं यतायुः
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
So do meditation for 2 minutes only. Jai Mahan.